Welcome to Watchman on the Wall, a daily outreach of Southwest Radio Ministries and SWRC.com. Today, we start an exciting preview of our upcoming Prophecy in the News Live conference, and biblical archaeologist Clayton Van Huss will share fascinating insight into the ancient world of the Bible. Not only do we have our daily Watchman on the Wall program, Southwest Radio Ministries also publishes resources, books, and teaching DVDs. We also have a prayer outreach here for you. We have staff ready to pray with you and for your individual prayer needs. Send your prayer concerns to our special email address, prayer@swrc.com. That's prayer@swrc.com. You can also share your prayer needs with us when you call 1-800-652-1144, or you can post on our new prayer wall located at our website, swrc.com. At Watchman on the Wall, we truly believe that God is still on the throne and prayer changes things. We're only 9 days away from our Prophecy in the News Live conference in the Seattle area. With a preview of this exciting event, here is Micah Van Huss, Larry Stamm, and Josh Davis.
Prophecy in the News Live is coming to the Seattle, Washington area March 14th and 15th. 2 full days filled with lots of information from Scripture and inspiration. We'll be joined with several wonderful speakers, including Eric Barger, Mac Dominic, Greg Patton, and I am privileged to be joined in studio by some of our team members. We've got Micah Van Huss, Clayton Van Huss, and Larry Stamm. They're going to be highlighting some of the things they're going to be sharing at this upcoming Prophecy in the News live event. It's going to occur just outside of Seattle in Bellevue, Washington. Again, it's March 14th and 15th. The doors will open at 8 a.m. both days, and 2 full days filled with wonderful Bible teaching. We're going to hear a highlight of some of the things that's going to be happening, but let me tell you, you can register for this at swrc.com or by calling 1-800-652-1144. Just tell them you want to come to the Seattle conference. It's going to be taking place at the Courtyard, Seattle, Bellevue, downtown, and you are welcome. Please help us spread the word about this. Micah, we're excited to hear from you at this conference. Can you highlight for our audience some of the things that you'll be sharing over the course of those 2 days?
Absolutely, Josh. So one of the presentations I'll be doing is The Earth as It Was. This was my second book. In The Earth as It Was, I pontificate, speculate, and obfuscate about the earth as it was before the great flood of Noah, and a little bit after, as the events that happen after the flood are relevant. We talk about creation, God's power to create with his voice. We talk about dinosaurs. I can remember as a little kid when Ken Ham would come to Pensacola, I wasn't a little kid at Pensacola, a little kid at Buffalo Ridge Baptist, Ken Ham would come and talk about dinosaurs, and then at Pensacola, he would come speak. And so now I get to speak about dinosaurs in front of people, and it's an awesome thing. We talk in that book about the Nephilim, the Watchers, all kinds of things as they relate to the flood of Noah and as it was in the days of Noah. My second presentation is Secret Societies, and in Secret Societies, we follow the knowledge of the Watchers from Genesis chapter 4 all the way to present day, and in fact, even into end times events. We talk about Nimrod, the first Grand Master of the Freemasons. We talk about the United States of America and how it was intended by some, Sir Francis Bacon primarily, to be the new Atlantis, Atlantis reborn, a place to bring back the old gods. And that's where we see a schism in Freemasonry between George Washington and Benjamin Franklin and 2 different types of Freemasons at the founding of our country. We also get into the Catholic Church and what secrets they are hiding as it relates to the knowledge of the Watchers being passed through the years. We talk about the end times and bring it down to Revelation and the Battle of Armageddon. There are 3, generally, most people believe there are 3 beasts in the book of Revelation. Some people claim there's 2, some people claim there's 4, but the general knowledge is that there are 3 beasts in Revelation. The beast that comes out of the ocean, the false prophet, and the image of the beast. And so who are these figures? Well, I speculate about the answer to that in the Secret Society's presentation. We have a lot of fun doing it. Always love to go to these conferences with my brother and with Larry over there. So looking forward, and hopefully you folks will be able to come out into the state of Washington to attend the Prophecy in the News Live.
And Clayton will actually be first up as the conference kicks off. He'll be speaking at 9 a.m. on that Friday, March the 14th, and the opening session is Star and Scepter. And Clayton, can you highlight something about that? Also, let our audience have a little bit of a preview of the other talk that you may be giving there in the Seattle area.
Absolutely, Josh. The Star and the Scepter, this goes back to a prophecy in the Old Testament. In Numbers 24:17, the wicked prophet Balaam gives a prophecy. Now, Southwest Radio Ministries is really at its heart a prophecy ministry. We talk about Bible prophecy. And so we're always talking about the future, right? Like the temple or the second coming of Jesus. We talk about things like that, and we teach on these subjects. Sometimes we forget that there were prophecies given in the Old Testament that have either been fulfilled or still have some fulfillment left. Now, the prophecy that Balaam gave from the top of Mount Nebo over in modern-day Jordan, it was Moab at the time, the prophecy that he gave not only was fulfilled in Jesus Christ, but also Jesus himself in his penultimate words in the Bible. If you have a red-letter Bible, and you look at the book of Revelation, you go to chapter 22, look at verse 16. It's the next to the last thing in red in your Bible. And Jesus tells us right there that he fulfilled this prophecy. So what is this prophecy? So Balaam, this wicked prophet, was hired by Balak, the king of the Moabites, to pronounce a curse over the children of Israel. They were encamped at Abel Shittim, and they were getting ready to cross over the Jordan River to go and inherit the land that God had given them. And so you can go there today. You can look down at the site, the same mountaintop, looking down at the same site where Balaam looked, and you can see where instead of pronouncing a curse, he pronounced blessings, but he also made a prophecy. Numbers 24:17, that out of Israel he sees a star and a scepter, that coming out of Jacob, this star and this scepter. This imagery, we understand to some degree what that means today. But what did it mean to the people of the late Bronze Age who were hearing this prophecy for the first time? Both the Moabites and the Israelites. Of course, Moses recorded it in the book of Numbers. What did they think when they heard a star and a scepter? You might be very interested because it's something a little different, really, from how we think today. And understanding the culture and the history of the Bible, understanding what the people at the time, there's an old saying, the Bible was written for us, but not necessarily to us. Well, the people to whom it was written, when they heard these words, they knew what this meant. They had an image in their heads, and so we want to bring that and show that and give hope to believers. You know, as Israel is about to cross into the promised land, you look there in Revelation 22, what's getting ready to happen? Believers are getting ready to cross into our promise too. So this is really cool stuff. As far as the second presentation that I'll be giving on Saturday, that is a presentation I call Guardians of the Sacred Space. And again, we look at the material culture of ancient Israel to understand something that is very misunderstood today. If you go on YouTube, you're going to see a lot of videos that say things like, oh, biblically accurate angels. And all these people, they make these videos, but the problem is they look at things with modern eyes. They don't understand what's being said in the text. They don't understand the culture. They don't understand the material culture. They don't understand the context of how these things are written in the Bible. And so therefore, we have these fantastic explanations, and these are fun things to speculate about. But very clearly, and one of the things, the case in point in the Bible is Ezekiel chapters 1-3 and chapter 10. And if you watch History Channel, you know that they've got the Ancient Aliens program. And they're always like, oh, look, Ezekiel was seeing a UFO. No, if you understand, this imagery is all over the ancient Near East, especially in Israelite worship. You will see this imagery that Ezekiel uses. Again, the people that he was talking to there, and of course this is the Iron Age now, those people understood what he was saying because it was part of their material culture. And so we want to talk about the guardians of the sacred space. Specifically, we're going to be talking about cherubim. What are cherubim? So are they angels? Are they constructs? Are they art? What's going on here? And so I think we can find some things that will really encourage us and help us in our worship, but especially in our prayer life. I think we'll find in this one.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Clayton. And friends, we are talking about the upcoming Seattle Conference for Prophecy in the News Live. Lots of great resources will be available at the conference as well. Books by the folks that you're hearing right now, and lots of wonderful resources available there as well. It's coming to the Courtyard Seattle, Bellevue, downtown. You can register today at SWRC.com. Click on events, and then you can select the Seattle event in Bellevue, Washington, and you can register right there. You can see the full schedule. You can find out all the information on that landing page and go to SWRC.com, click on events. You can also register over the phone by calling us at 1-800-652-1144. You can also register in person the day of the event. And perhaps you are in that area and you'd like to come join us. Maybe you'd just like to go visit the Pacific Northwest and come to this wonderful conference. That would be great, friends. As I said, 2 full days. It's Friday, March the 14th, Saturday, March 15th. Doors open at 8 a.m. both days. First sessions will begin at 9. We'll hear from Clayton Van Huss, Greg Patton, Micah Van Huss, Mac Dominic, Larry Stamm, Eric Barger, and it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. We invite you to join us there at the Prophecy in the News live event. And we also have Larry Stamm joining us in studio. Larry, thank you for your patience as we're just now getting to you. We're excited to have you there as well. Can you highlight some of the things that you'll be sharing in Seattle with the friends that are gathered there?
Sure, Josh. At one presentation, we'll be talking about and unpacking material from my book, Jewish Roots of Christianity, History of Redemption from Genesis to Revelation. And in that book, we are going to unpack the gospel message from Genesis to Revelation. Perhaps your listeners have heard the pithy catchphrase, the Old Testament is the New Testament concealed, and the New Testament is the Old Testament revealed. In this presentation, we're going to talk about the gospel message. We're going to talk about cool topics like the gospel in the Old Testament. We're going to talk about the feasts of Israel and a picture of the redemptive work of Jesus Christ found in those feasts. We're going to talk about cool topics like the Trinity in the Old Testament and things like that. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time of unpacking material from the Jewish Roots of Christianity book. In my second presentation, Pilgrimage to Zion, Salvation Studies in Israel, I'm going to bring out highlights from a video series that we all were a part of in Israel. Each of us taught in our own individual topics. I taught on the gospel of Jesus in this series of 10 episodes, 10 25 to 30-minute TV episodes entitled Pilgrimage to Zion. We unpack the gospel message again, talking about Jewish roots things. Also in this series, I have individual episodes, one entitled The Great Commission, another one on the life of Christ. You know, if you're in the Holy Land, we recorded both in Israel and in Jordan. We were there for 12 days in the summer of 2023. We had a wonderful time. But also in that study, I'm going to talk about an episode. We talked about the Great Commission, the life of Christ, and we dedicate an entire episode on the millennial reign of Christ in the New Jerusalem. This idea of pilgrimage to Zion. You know, Zion is found about 150 times in the Bible. In the church, we typically don't talk much about Zion, but Zion can be representative of Israel. It can be representative of the city of Jerusalem, but Zion can also be representative of a place where God lives, the eternal abode of God in glory. When we as believers in Jesus Christ go to glory, we're going to be with God in heaven. And the city come out of heaven in the book of Revelation is called the New Jerusalem, otherwise known as Zion. So in one way, shape, or form, all of us are on a pilgrimage to that eternal abode with God called Zion. So we all are on a pilgrimage to Zion. I'm going to unpack material from that series in that second presentation.
Yeah, well, Larry, we're looking forward to being with you there. Now, I say we, I'm actually not going to even be there myself. God opened up an opportunity for me to speak at a conference in Canada. So our Canadian friends who are listening, we would love to invite you there. Information's available at SWRC.com about that one as well. But we are highlighting the upcoming Seattle conference. It's, again, March 14th and 15th, Friday and Saturday. And once more, you'll hear from Clayton Van Huss and Greg Patton, Micah Van Huss, Mac Dominic, Larry Stam. Eric Barger, who lives in that Pacific Northwest area, will be sharing the first day about Are You an Extremist? And on the second day, we'll be sharing about Disney paganism. I hate that I'm going to miss hearing what he has to say about those things. Intriguing titles, to be sure. So once more, this is happening at the Courtyard, Seattle, Bellevue, downtown. You can register at SWRC.com, click on events, and then you can go to this specific event and register for that today. The cost is only $25 per person, and we would love to see you there at the Prophecy in the News live event in Seattle. You can also register by phone, 1-800-652-1144. While you're at SWRC.com, be sure you check out some of the other upcoming events. We will be in Kansas, back in the Wichita, Kansas area at the Sunrise Christian Academy, May the 2nd, May the 3rd. 2 wonderful days, Prophecy in the News live. And then in the month of June, a special event coming up June 13th and 14th. It's Ministries of the Bible Verse. Micah Van Huss will be heading that up. And Micah, I'll ask you to give us a couple details about that in just a second. It's going to be happening at the Drury Plaza Hotel in Indianapolis. That's in Carmel, Indiana, just outside of Indianapolis this year. It's June 13th and 14th. Micah, would you like to preview some of the mysteries of the Bible verse for us?
Absolutely, Josh. As he said, June 13th and 14th of this year, we're having our second Mysteries of the Bible verse, where we talk about the mysteries of God's universe from biblically based origins. We have a number of speakers this year. Headlining us for us is L.A. Marzulli. Some of you may know L.A. Marzulli. He's an expert on UFOs, aliens, the Nephilim, and how this extraterrestrial things that we're seeing in the news today, in Congress, in our movies, how this is something that's very real and how we are extremely close to disclosure. That's L.A. Marzulli. Also speaking for us will be Derek Gilbert. Those of you that are familiar with Southwest have heard Derek Gilbert before, most likely. He wrote his book, The Second Coming of Saturn, and his theory on who Lucifer really is. Fascinating study. As well, we have Michael Hoggard speaking. He is known as the UFO pastor. Mac Dominic will be speaking. His topic is fascinating. Jesus the Gatekeeper. What did Jesus do when his body was dead for 3 days on the earth? What did he do? Well, Scripture says he went to hell, and it's a fascinating topic. That's Mac Dominic. We also have Sharon Gilbert speaking for us. Her latest book, The Gates of Hell, her and her husband Derek Gilbert wrote that. She will be speaking for us about her book, The Gates of Hell. Again, that is synonymous with Jesus the Gatekeeper. I will be speaking as well on my secret societies for sure, and one other presentation. And we have general admission tickets, a VIP package. You can secure yours today at SWRC.com, SWRC.com, go to events. Once again, our speakers are L.A. Marzulli, Derek Gilbert, Michael Hoggard, Mac Dominic, Sharon Gilbert, and Micah Van Huss at the Mysteries of the Bible Verse event this year, June 13th and 14th in the greater Indianapolis area.
And a new thing that SWRC is doing this year is a Biblically Grounded conference. Clayton Van Huss is heading that up for us. Do you want to just give a little teaser for what people could experience in the Biblically Grounded?
Absolutely. That will be this July in Bristol, Virginia. And we will be coming in right at the end of the dig season at Shiloh in Israel. And so we have a group of archaeologists, many of them who do excavate at Shiloh. We'll have Dr. Scott Stripling, who will be talking about some of the fascinating finds there, as well as crucifixion. We've got Dr. Douglas Petrovich, who will be talking about Israel and Egypt. We have Brian Wendell, who runs BibleArchaeologyReport.com. He'll be speaking on Jericho. We have my wife, Abigail Van Huss, who is a great archaeologist herself. She'll be speaking on Mount Ebal and on the excavations at Shiloh. So we're going to be bringing the most recent, and also, by the way, we're going to have a small museum. We're going to be setting up an exhibit with Tommy Chamberlain out of Pikeville, Kentucky, who is just a marvelous expert with biblical artifacts. It is going to be quite the gathering. It's going to be focused for the layperson, so it's not just going to be a bunch of eggheads talking about papers they wrote, but it's going to be things that we see in the Bible and in the ground. Exciting stuff.
Yes. Friends, all this and more will be added to swrc.com/events, and you can check that out because they've got some other events that will be added on down the year. We're excited to announce those things as they come closer. But what we're highlighting today is mainly the upcoming Prophecy in the News Live, March 14th and 15th in Bellevue, Washington, just outside of Seattle. It's taking place at the Courtyard Seattle Bellevue downtown. You can register today at swrc.com or by calling 1-800-652-1144.
Friends, our first Prophecy in the News Live event is coming to the Seattle area Friday and Saturday, March 14th and 15th. 2 full days of nationally known speakers unveiling the coming cosmic conflict, the new America, and the Jewish roots of Christianity. Speakers include Eric Barger, Micah Van Huss, Greg Patton, Mac Dominic, Clayton Van Huss, and Larry Stamm. Registration is now open. Reserve your spot today. Visit SWRC.com or call 1-800-652-1144. We're excited for our friends and supporters from Seattle, Tacoma, Spokane, and the surrounding areas to be with us. So make plans today to be with us at Prophecy in the News Live in Bellevue, Washington, March 14th and 15th. Register today by calling 1-800-652-1144 or simply visit swrc.com. Biblical archaeologist Clayton Van Huss joins us now to share fascinating insight into the ancient world of the Bible.
So Scott, we've come to our last grave here at the Mount Zion Cemetery. And this grave is not an archaeologist. In fact, it's not unmarked. It's one you would walk past without looking twice. It's a mass grave with a number of individuals. I believe 7?
7 people are buried here.
Yes, and there's a name or two that are recognizable, but especially one that we want to look at, and that's Horatio Spafford. Who was Horatio Spafford?
Horatio Spafford was an American industrialist, made a fortune in industry in the 19th century. He was a Presbyterian elder, and he made up his mind that after age 40, he had made all the money that he could need and use in a lifetime. He wanted to use it for the Lord's work. And so he had 4 daughters and his wife. He was trying to wrap up his business affairs in Chicago. And by the way, he was next door neighbors with Dwight Moody,
Really?
D.L. Moody, the famous Protestant evangelist. During the Great Fire of Chicago, and matter of fact, in 1864, when the Spaffords were taking care of the Moody's children that night. They'd gone out to do something, and there were several days before they could even get back to know if their children were alive or not. And so, next door neighbors. When Spafford ultimately died, it was Moody who came over and did his funeral here in Jerusalem at Gordon's Calvary.
I did not know that. So
And
D.L.
so-
Moody came here and did Spafford's.
Preached Spafford's funeral. You know, where the Muslim graves are
Yes.
at the top, there's now a fence there restricting ingress and egress because Moody stood up there when he preached Spafford's funeral, and since then there's a fence there. But
Jerusalem is a fascinating place. You learn something every day.
well, that's the beginning and the end of Spafford's life. Let me tell you what happened in the middle.
Sure, this is good stuff.
So he sends his wife and daughters on ahead of him coming here, and he's going to stay behind for a few more weeks to finish wrapping up his business affairs in Chicago with all intent of living the rest of their life here in Jerusalem and establishing an American colony, which of course you can now visit.
Right.
You'll see many of his artifacts and handwritten notes and stuff like that are there. Most importantly are his photographs. He was an avid photographer, and in the 19th century, there weren't a whole lot of cameras around.
Right.
And he took pictures of everything, so we now have urban sprawl in Jerusalem, but we can go back to the photographs of the great hymn writer, which we'll get to in a second, Spafford, and see what something looked like before that time, and it's of great value to us.
So Scott, you told us that he sent his family on ahead before he made the trip. But something happened. Something that most Christians who sing hymns are aware of, but let's hear the real story.
Yeah, it's difficult to even tell the story because it's so emotional, but his wife and his children were on a a liner crossing the Atlantic, and unfortunately the ship sank. It was lost at sea. Some people were rescued, but most were not. All 4 of his daughters drowned that day, and his wife survived. And when she finally got here, by then we had cable, because you could send Morse code cables back and forth by that time. And she sent the message to Spafford, still in Chicago, "I alone am saved, what shall I do?" And at that point, he immediately got on a ship to come over here. Somehow, by the grace of God, they pulled their lives together and founded the American colony, had more children, and that was a tragic chapter, but it wasn't the final chapter. On his way over here, the captain alerted him when he reached the spot where his daughters had drowned. And it was there that he wrote the famous hymn, "It is well with my soul. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul." And when we sing that, when we experience loss and so forth, we think about the hymn writer's loss and the ethos that goes with that. It's really powerful.
Sure, and my understanding is as he crossed that spot, he was called onto the deck.
Life is a vapor, and we have an opportunity. We're given gifts and we're given opportunity. When there are open doors, we follow in the footsteps of guys like Petrie and Spafford, and we go through those doors and we try to leave the world better than we found it. These were all Christians that we're talking about here today, because people of other faiths, of course, have done great archaeological work too. But there were people behind the scenes who were funding these expeditions. For everyone who could come here, there were thousands who couldn't, but they wrote checks and gave offerings, and they helped this work that helps illuminate the world of the Bible. There are people out there who will try to use archaeology to tell us that it contradicts the Bible. The work that we do is only possible by thousands of friends and volunteers who catch the vision and help us do what we do.
Friends, our first Prophecy in the News live event is coming to the Seattle area Friday and Saturday, March 14th and 15th. 2 full days of nationally known speakers unveiling the coming cosmic conflict, the new America and the Jewish roots of Christianity. We're excited for our friends and supporters from Seattle, Tacoma, Spokane, and the surrounding areas to be with us. Prophecy in the News Live in Bellevue, Washington, March 14th and 15th. Make sure you register today by calling 1-800-652-1144. Tomorrow, L.A. Marzulli will begin a brand new series offering insight into a reality many are too afraid to face. Be sure to tune in by downloading our free SWRC mobile app or by subscribing to our daily Watchman on the Wall podcast. Watchman on the Wall is a production of Southwest Radio Ministries and is supported by faithful listeners like you. Please visit our website, SWRC.com.